So by midnight, consumers could be paying 53 cents a litre more for petrol or 84 cents for diesel. That's according to the unaudited data out of the Department of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, expected to make the announcement today. Our business reporter is still helping us understand the impact of a fuel hike on consumers. In Ntokozo, I see that people are burning fuel there as traffic picks up. Tell us what some of the economic implications are for fuel price hike in a country, considering a country like ours, and also you have, of course, has this issue around the levels of inequality in a current economy that's not growing.
Good morning, Aldrin. Well, the traffic here certainly flowing, and really the traffic here being a symbol of the economic activity that is taking place in the country as we try to, of course, reach economic growth that is beyond 1%. And that's really to sort of highlight that all these different factors when it comes to inflation play a big part in the trajectory that the country will take. So a hike in fuel prices not to be seen in isolation by consumers. Yesterday, Aldrin, we had a conversation around food prices, and the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group warning that the country is heading towards that inflationary pressure territory, with food prices continuing to edge up on an annual basis 3.6%. And they were warning that with most South Africans prioritizing transport, such as being able to fuel up the cars and be able to get to work or catch a taxi or a bus to work, and also on their electricity bill, leaving very little for food, but also the risk of then higher fuel prices on that fuel inflation, reversing some of the gains that consumers have been able to benefit from, including a lower inflation environment, as well as those interest rate cuts that we did see again in May when we got that 25 basis point cut, Aldrin. And in July, or in June rather, mid-June, the South African Reserve Bank also held its financial stability review. They have that review twice a year just to check on the financial stability of all the financial systems in the country. And the Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetjo Kganyago, did say that while the country seems to still be resilient when it comes to some of the global shocks on the back of those tensions between Israel and Iran, and that those global oil rallies or the price rally had not really hit South Africa, it is something that they continued to watch. So let's take a listen to what he said as some of the risks then that the Reserve Bank will be watching ahead of the next interest rates announcement later on this month, Aldrin.
Very difficult to assess. All that we know is that potentially it could. What would be the channels that it would come through? Potentially it could come through the impact on capital flows, and with the flows and adjustments in exchange rates and financial market prices. It could also, importantly, come as a result of a shock on economic activity, and that has got consequences for the health of the borrowers and could feed into the negatively into the balance sheets of the financial institutions. But too early to tell. We had flagged it here because this had come in this way. And lastly, we had seen the impact on the oil price. Again, you've got to make the assessments as what is the big exposure. We are not, our financial sector is not a big trader in the oil market, so it's not something that we think will have a direct impact, but the channels are all indirect.
Yeah, and Ntokozo, all of this also coming just after South Africa experienced that fuel levy increase after 3 years of no increases.
So Aldrin, as we've been advising, especially with July being saving month, it is really about consumers looking at all these pieces of data and developments, all not looking at it in isolation, but how it all impacts their budgets at the end of the day and working around that. So later on this morning, Aldrin, we'll actually be looking at the benefits of loyalty cards and petrol cards when it comes to actually helping consumers stretch their buck a little bit when it comes to them pouring on fuel, but also using the convenience stores that are available at the various garages across the country. How far do those loyalty cards actually go at easing that price pressure, both from a food inflation point of view, but from a fuel inflation point of view as well? So we'll have those updates a little bit later on this morning, Aldrin.